Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Paper Be Gone studios. That's right, the naming rights to the studio have been changed. You won't notice many changes today in the studio, but midway through the year, here in our 20th year, you will. And that's when you'll say, oh, Paper Be Gone was behind all this. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about Tennessee LSU last night in basketball. We're going to talk about Tennessee with a big pickup in the transfer portal for football yesterday. We talk about analytics taking over sports. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that the nerds are taking over? We got lots to cover. Let's get right into it. First segment of our show brought to you by that company I just mentioned, Paper Be Gone. Now, you know about Junk Be Gone. I've told you about them for many years now. But now they have a second business for you to call, Paper Be Gone. They have split off something that they used to do with Junk Be Gone, gone all the way in on this thing. Paper Be Gone. Paper shredding, hard drive destruction, X-ray and medical document destruction. They do it all. And it's all done environmentally friendly. These are the same people you've trusted for years at Junk Be Gone, same people I use on a regular basis. Mike Such and his team are really, really good folks. I'm happy to have them as a part of this show. Happy to welcome Paper Be Gone onto the show. Go to paperbegone.com to learn more about this fine, fine business by the same people you've trusted for years. Paper Be Gone. All right. And speaking of people you've trusted for years, you don't have me, but you got these four guys. You got former Vol assistant coach, former D1 basketball player Mark Pankratz. Right there, former Vol basketball player Isaiah Victor. Jimmy Himes from 99.1, the sports animal. You can hear him Monday through Friday. And down there, Chuck Cavaleris, longtime sports writer in this town. Man About Town is the font we should give him. Font will be the name thing at the bottom of your screen. Speaking a little inside jargon there. Vols lose at Baton Rouge last night, 79-67. No shame in that, as LSU is number 5 in the NCAA's net rankings. They have the best defense in the country, according to Ken Pomeroy's computers. Okay, got it. But it looked last night like LSU was simply the more athletic team. A lot of hype about this Tennessee team this year coming in. I was behind some of it. Your thoughts on that view? Do you agree that LSU just simply looked like the more athletic team? Was that the difference?
I think they were more athletic, but I also think they were tougher last night. They were in on the ball. They rebounded rebounded us by 8, had more offensive rebounds, got to the free throw line. They made adjustments defensively. They're a good defensive team because of that athleticism, because of their toughness, but they get out there with their length and are really, really active. And then that caused turnovers. I mean, Kennedy Chandler has 6 turnovers, some of them in key moments where we're battling back. We'll talk about the three-pointers, but Kenny Chandler's turnovers, their athleticism, their toughness, and their defensive looks and their adjustments were a major difference.
Isaiah, is this team tough enough overall?
I mean, judging by what I've seen so far, they wasn't tough enough last night, that's for sure. I felt like LSU brought it right to us, just like I felt like they would. It was going to be a gritty game. They were going to be, trapping and trying to get us out of our offense, because the offense does work well, but the easy thing to do is to try to speed us up and get us out of it, trap some people. They could switch a lot of stuff because they're athletic, and they just wanted it more. So, no, we were not tough enough last night, but going forward, we got to play harder than that.
Guys, your thoughts on Tennessee's loss yesterday at Baton Rouge?
Well, I do think LSU was a more athletic team, and I thought going in they would be, because watching them against Kentucky, they've got some really good athletes. And I went in saying I didn't know if I thought LSU had a great player. Maybe this Torrey Eason guy's a great player, but they've got a lot of really good players. But the thing that strikes me about Tennessee right now, and the reason I don't love this Tennessee team right now, is what did they do really well other than play defense? They're not a great shooting team. They don't have a lot of great inside presence. They don't have particularly good shot blockers. I don't think there's a lot that they do really well other than play defense, and that can only take you so far.
Chuck?
Yeah, and that's a tough place to play. I mean, anybody who's been there, I mean, and the crowd's into it. You're hoping that maybe it's not as riled up as it seemed to be. But I just don't think you matched what they do, and they rank #1 in defense efficiency for a reason. And the Eason, I had that down. What, a transfer from Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Who has Tennessee got that can match up with him when he gets going? That was a great pickup for them. So, what is Ziegler, one of your toughest players? You know, one of your smallest players, one of your toughest players. So he's got a lot of things to work on, some things to figure out, and it's tough to win on the road.
Well, let's talk about John Fulkerson. Rick Barnes certainly did after the game. Let's put up some numbers here for you to take a gander at. What you see that first game against Arizona there, that's what he did in his last pre-COVID game. 30 minutes, 61% from the field, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 24 points. We went on and on about what a performance that was at the time. Then he gets COVID, as he did last year when he didn't look good after the COVID. He comes back after missing the Alabama game, minutes down, field goal percentage down, 0% yesterday. He took 1 shot late. Rebounds, he's got 5 in 2 games versus 10 against Arizona, 1 assist in 2 games, 3 points, 8 points in the last 2 games combined. I looked at it, I thought he looked winded after the first minute or 2 of that ball game. So I'm kind of looking at what happened last year when he had COVID and thinking, gee, could be the same thing here. That doesn't appear to be the view of Rick Barnes. Take a look at what he said. Wes Rucker of GoVols247.com tweeted this last night on Rick Barnes. We need John to help us, or we need him to step aside. He's got to be tougher. We're asking him to do what he needs to do, as Wes pointed out. Wow. We need him to do it or step aside. My view on that, and it's the same view I had, I'm going to be consistent here. I like Rick Barnes, but when Jeremy Pruitt spent his time calling out Alontae Taylor, I thought, which of these guys is making $3-4 million? And when I look at John Fulkerson, I know he's got the NIL dollars now, but I don't think he's the one getting $5 million like Rick Barnes is. If his guys aren't doing what he needs them to do, either A, for $5 million, he should be coaching them better, or B, bring in the right guys. I'm a little tired of throwing players under the bus, which seems to be, and the players don't seem to mind it. They seem to, he must be great with them behind the scenes, but just that's one of those things I don't like, coaches who consistently point fingers at players. It's like, what are you there for? I thought that's a little rough for a guy that's coming off COVID and not looking good. Looks like the COVID could have a role on that. Mark, I know you talked to some people about the comments about Fulkerson. Your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I talked to 6 different former Tennessee guys, all SEC or better performers, 1 NBA scout, 1 NBA coach, 2 college coaches, and it was across the board. I mean, it was all over the board. One, I think John has built up a ton of equity within this program, right? Been here 6 years. He just had this game from Arizona was only 2 games ago, and he did have COVID. And so this quick of a turnaround to go to the media, I thought it was a little bit off basis. Look, Barnes, unlike we gave Penny Hardaway a lot of crap for calling out his players, calling them selfish and all that stuff. Barnes has done this for a long time. This is who Barnes has been. This is how he's been successful. I do think he has a relationship to where he feels like he can call out Fulkerson. But I just thought it was so quick. And especially after a game when Josiah George-James 1 for 7 again, shooting 25% for the year from 3. He loves himself some Josiah, but won't call him out. Kenny Chandler, 6. So it just didn't vibe well with me, the timing of this. Do we need more from him? Yes. I just thought it could have been handled much differently than putting it out in the media this quick.
Isaiah, your player's perspective on it.
I think he cares a lot about Fulkerson. I think he is probably the leader of the team because he's been here so long and been successful for so long, quite frankly. A lot of wins. Mm-hmm. So he expects the most out of him. So I'm assuming he's starting at the top. And it was a very disheartening loss, especially when you get out toughed or they compete harder than you did. And that's Fulkerson's whole thing is his toughness and his competitive nature. And I think he wanted him to keep the ball closer to him because they'd be swatting at the ball. I told him that he didn't do that. So I think he's starting at the top, and I think even though he's talking to Fulkerson, it's going to send a clear message to the rest of the team. And it could be a preview of what's to come. Huntley Hatfield, could he have got some rebounds? He only played 3 minutes, so maybe he's going to adjust the lineup some, and this is kind of a preview to that. Kind of so, nobody has to ask the question later, well, why isn't Fulkerson playing anymore? So maybe a prelude to what's to come, but I don't feel so bad about it because he's a big, tough, super senior, and he can take it.
I thought it was a bit harsh. Last year, pretty much everybody, I think, knew that John Fulkerson had COVID. Rick Barnes knew he had it last year and still was critical of him, and it wasn't until at the end of the year that Fulkerson admitted that, yes, he had COVID. Another thing Barnes said last night was that, last year when Fulkerson had COVID, it impacted his energy and his effort and his play. And he said, I hope it doesn't affect him as much this time around. But I thought he was a bit harsh calling him out. You knew it affected him last year. Certainly it looks like it's affected his energy and his effort right now. So I thought that was a little bit strong to come out on Fulkerson, because you know that the guy had difficulty with it a year ago.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, is it a medical issue or is it an effort issue? And the last thing you would think is it's an effort issue. So, I mean, and I don't think they handled it right from day one with John Fulkerson, not forthcoming at all. But yeah, obvious to me it was harsh, and I think it's uncalled for.
It'd be a lot different if he came out and just said, hey guys, I could have coached better too.
Right.
Yes,
I could have made some
yes.
adjustments versus Will Wade's defense in the second half. I could have put Justin Powell a 3-point percentage. I could have made some adjustments, and I didn't do that. And so I could have performed better, and so could have Barnes, so could have Fulkerson, so could have. But just to go out there and blast Fulkerson, that's where it rubbed me.
That is not Barnes' way, though.
Yeah,
This is the first time we've talked about
I
it.
want to say about Barnes, one of the first things I heard about him was he's not the coach that comes to practice and chews you out and then leaves before practice is over. He's going to coach you during practice, but after practice, he's going to pick you up, butter you up, and talk. So he has a good relationship with all these guys.
Yeah, they take it. Now, let's get something that is this too obvious an issue? Let's take a look at Tennessee's three-point shooting. On the year, their 4 worst nights shooting from 3 are their 4 losses. Basically, if they shoot under 25%, they've lost that game. If they shot better than 25% from 3, they've won the game. You look at the 10 wins, they're 103 of 275. That's 37.5% from 3. Okay. The 4 losses, 24 of 121, under 20%. Look, we said before the season, where's this team's offense going to come from if the threes aren't falling? Have I oversimplified that, or is that pretty much just the gist?
I think that what that underscores, and it was a concern that I had as well, is if you're not shooting well from three-point range, who inside is going to carry you? Who inside is going to score? I've mentioned for a long time they need another inside scorer to help Fulkerson. Well, if Fulkerson's not doing it, who else is it going to be? Now, is it going to end up being Kumwa? Is it going to? I thought it could be Brandon Huntley Hatfield. It doesn't look like that's the situation, but that tells me you don't have much inside scoring. When you can't hit the 3 and you're losing games like that, you've got to go inside to score, and I don't see that consistently with this team.
Very quickly, because I got one more thing for you.
Well, the other thing, inside scoring, it doesn't have to be a back-to-the-basket post player go make a score. We don't have a body inside that takes up space, that seals off guys to allow driving angles for guys that can get to the rim. So it doesn't have to be back-to-the-basket post player. We got to create things to where our drivers, Kennedy Chandler, Ziegler, can actually get to the rim and finish at the rim.
All right, very good. Let me throw up one more thing. Versus Will Wade, Rick Barnes got a win. It's first time he's lost his last 4 against Will Wade. He was 3-1 against Bruce Pearl to start. He's now lost 6 in a row to Bruce Pearl. He's had great success against Calipari and other coaches. These two have seemed to own him. I've put this graphic up and wrote common issues, and then looking at the graphic, I thought, well, I can think of one that involves cheating. But, Mark, from a coach's perspective, and I'm throwing this to you, we didn't even plan it, is there anything right off the top of your head that is similar between Wade and Pearl style that would give them an advantage against Barnes at all?
My first thought was that they're scrappy and they make those quick adjustments. We're really good in motion offense, back cutting, reading screens, reading, reacting. What they do is they play those different gimmicky type defenses to get us out of that to where we're just now shooting more contested jump shots. And so I think it's on the defensive end where they make those adjustments, both Will and Bruce.
Okay, very good. When we come back, let's talk about who can Rick Barnes count on with this team? Who is the most consistent player? Who's the most valuable player? Is there anybody you point at and say, yeah, definitely him? We'll discuss that next. Come on back on the Sports Source.